I want to share with you today a very deep idea in our relationship with Hashem. Hashem has many names. Hashem is called Yudke Vavke, of course. Hoy Hoy V'yeh. Hashem is called Elohim, which hints to me that's a din. But Hashem is also called Hamakom. When a person tries to comfort a mourner, they say Hamakom Yinachem Eschem B'Tok Shar V'Elisian Shalaim. The place should come for you. And this Shabbos, I was trying to figure out where to daven. I woke up late. I usually daven 8. I was trying to figure out, should I daven here? Should I daven there? Should I daven this place? And it crossed my mind that I really don't have a set place to daven if I miss nates. And really, the idea of having a set place is an interesting idea. Because who really has a set place in this world? I just got off the phone with someone from America who's going through tremendous difficulties. And I think a day doesn't pass if I don't hear if somebody is going through tremendous difficulties. And no matter how sure we are about our place, there's always a possibility that it'll be shaken up. And this is, I believe, why we comfort a mourner by saying Hamakom. Because when a person loses someone dear in their life, then the way we comfort is that that's the real place. Hashem is the real place. Not my family, not my home, not my job, not even my shul. The real place is with Hashem. Now, I want to share with you for the next few days some very deep ideas about this concept, which come from the Nefesh HaChaim. It's very important as we come towards Kabbalah Satira to realize that the real place is Hashem. You know, the Zohar says, Nefesh HaChaim quotes, Kutshabrichu V'Raisa Yisrael Chadu, the Jewish people in the Torah and Hashem were one. That Kabbalah Satira, accepting the Torah, really means bringing Hashem into our lives. As we say, Anoichi Hashem Lokecha Ana Nafshi Ksibi Havis, Gemara says that Hashem gave Himself to us when He gave the Torah. And our true place in life is not our house and not our job and not our koilel and not our shul, nothing. Not even the Koisel Marabi, that's not our place. Although probably that's the closest place to being a place that we really could be with Hashem. Our real place is with Hashem. Hashem is called the Makam. The Nefesh HaChaim, in the third parak, expounds on this and says that he brings the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says that when you daven to Hashem, it should be with mercy and pleading, and not right in front of the Makam. Right? When you daven to Hashem, Hamakam really, right? It says, plead for mercy in front of the place. Hashem was called the place. Right? And the Nefesh HaChaim is Makdim. He introduces that Hashem is called the Makam. And we have to understand, when Chazal tell us something, it's very, very deep. If Chazal use this name for Hashem, when we ask for our tefillas to be answered, it means that Hashem is the place. Hashem is the place to turn. Right? And this woman called me on the phone crying. She's going through such difficulties. And it's heartbreaking. There's only one place to go, and that's Hashem. And the Nefesh HaChaim writes that when our sages says something, it's like a coal, a little spark on the coal. Whoever's made a barbecue knows. You're trying to broil the hamburgers, and there's not much fire. So you stir up the coal, and that little spark becomes a fire. Right? And Chazal wanted us to think deeply into their words, but you have to at the same time be careful. It's an interesting experience of duality, to realize the warmth from the fire and to get the warmth, but at the same time stay back so as not to get burnt. Right? So Nefesh HaChaim explains, when Chazal called Hashem the Makam, right, what were they referring to? What does that mean? What's the depth of this. So Nefesh Chaim brings from the Medrash, right, it says that Hu Makayim Shel Olam, Ve'ein Olam Makayim. All these places we have in the world, our house, our job, our shul, koilel, even the kaisel, they are um, really not the place. The place is Hashem. Hu Makayim Shel Olam, Ve'ein Olam Makayim. They all are resting on the Bari Olam, and not that the Bari Olam is resting on them. Hashem is right here at the Kaisel, and it's now 4 o'clock in the morning. Of Adis, who's a very great Oved Hashem, is just starting to say Slichos, and you can hear the Arab call to prayer. There's a lot of things going on here right now, but in truth, there's one thing going on. Hashem is holding up the entire world, right? And it's not that I'm sitting here on a chair at the Kosel, being held up by the ground. Everything is being held up by Kadosh Baruch Hu. There is no place. There is no concept of place in the world except for Hashem. And really, the truth of Shavuos is to come to that recognition. To come to that deep recognition that we have no place in the world except for Hashem and His Torah. This is our real place. Right? Everything else is, as the Nefesh Chaim quotes, is tuffle to this reality. The reality of Hashem. And the more we realize that any reality we have, no matter how real it seems, is not a reality. The only reality is Hashem. This is in fact how the Rambam begins the Sefer. Ein emes kamiktase, says the Nefesh Chaim. Kumoshkasa Rambam Zal, Ros Sefarim. The Rambam writes that the first principle is that there's no truth except for His truth. Everything is contingent only on Hashem. And the goal of Shavuos really is to come to this recognition, right? That Hu Makayim Shel Olam is Nikra Makom Shel Olam. Nefesh Chaim expounds on this a little bit more, right? That we know that there's many, many worlds. Hashem has revealed to this world this infinite light, and He doesn't reveal it immediately because we would be blinded by it, but instead He sends it down and slow, filters it down so we can perceive it in this world. And therefore He created many, many intermediary worlds in between in order to be able to perceive His infinite light. But all of these worlds, right, are just all hanging on, as it were, a thread and being held up by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Right? You know, if we have a safe, let's say safe as an example, if we have an apple on the table and we take the table away, the apple will fall on the floor, but there'll still be an apple. Says Nefesh Chaim, though, if we have the worlds and Hashem goes away, as it were, then there is no world. The world ceases to exist because the entire world is contingent on His will, His being. And as Nefesh Chaim explains later, that Hashem has made a condition in this world that every second there must be someone learning Torah. Every second there must be someone studying Torah. If for 1 second people would stop studying Torah, that would bring an end to the world. Because the Torah is the energy which keeps the world going. And that's what we have to know. Torah is more than knowledge. Torah is connection to Hashem. Torah is bringing Hashem into our life. As we said from the Goren Shavous, Ana nafshi siva yahavis. Anoichi means, I gave myself to you by giving you my Torah. When you study Torah, you're bringing the infinite light of Hashem into your life. You're filling your life up with light. Right? And you're creating a true place, a true base, as it were, you can rely on. And this is the deeper idea of deeper idea of Hashem being called a place. Now the Nefesh Chaim warns, right, that with any mashal you have to be very careful, right, to understand the nimshal. Especially here, he says, "Af she'ein erech v'dimyin klal bein hamashal nimshal." To compare Hashem to a place is very dangerous because we know we're not allowed to attribute even the smallest level of physicality to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But nonetheless, right, Chazal gave us this. And the idea is like this, right? That we have a neshama and a goof. We have a body and a neshama, right? And the body exists, but the neshama is really what's keeping us alive, right? Hashem, according to the Zohar, is called Nishmasin to call Nishmasin. He is the neshama of all neshamas, right? Every single world has a high world above it, which is keeping that world alive. But there's one existence that's keeping everything alive, and that's the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And if he would stop for 1 second, then everything would cease to exist, right? And therefore we have to realize, no matter what happens in our life, right, no matter how bleak things might seem, right, but the real thing, the real entity, which is keeping everything going, right, is the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem is the true Makom, right? And as Nefesh Chaim concludes here in Parak Shar Gimel, Parak Beis, and we'll conclude today's share with that. He says, "Ki ha'kodem kol chiyos ve'en karos v'akaros choitzin lafanam, ki lo haya bari davar shemazik negdo." Right? Hashem is the source of everything that exists in the world. As we say in Tehillim, "Eila b'rechiv ve'eila b'susa, v'nacht b'shem Hashem Elokeinu asker." They come with their horses and chariots. They come with the Shem Hashem. The Shem Hashem is what keeps everything going and alive, and that's why tefillah is so critical. Anything that's going wrong in our life, turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem wants us to turn to Him. Hashem wants us to turn to Him and to recognize that He is the only place. He's the one place to turn. And there's no other place. There's no other source of power and of salvation. And the more clear we recognize this, the more safe that we're going to be, the more secure we're going to be. Right? What's holding us up is not the floor, it's not the concrete, it's not our house. There's only one thing holding us up, and that is the Borei Olam. The Borei Olam is holding us up and keeping everything going. So let's get closer and closer to the Yontif of Shavous and accepting the Torah. And really, the Torah is what keeps us going. It's the energy. It's the fuel, as it were, for the entire existence. Let's all try as much as possible to get a clarity of this. Because on Shavuos day, by Kriyas Torah, when the Aseret Adibros are read, each and every one of us will receive a dose, as it were, of Torah for this upcoming year, and how much Torah will be merit to understand. And according to the level of Torah that we're given, that's the amount of makom, of place that we'll have in our life, the amount that will be merit to see Hashem as a true place. We should all turn to this place, because it is the best place to be, the place of Hashem, HaMakom, and HaMakom should give us salvation, right? To come to the true Makom, that we should move to the other side of this wall, and we should have a true salvation with the building of the base of Mikdash. Amen.